Hey everybody, it's Jamie. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking all about emergency funds, specifically how you can build your emergency fund fast and get ready for an awesome 2021 with a nice fully stocked emergency fund. The beautiful thing about emergency funds is it can reduce a lot of stress, make you feel a lot more relaxed and secure in your finances. So you're not dreading that next emergency, that next financial fiasco that is eventually gonna come. You won't be dreading it because you got this emergency fund set up. You're able to build it really quickly and really fast at the start of 2021 to set yourself up for an awesome year. One big takeaway I learned from 2020 is that anything can happen and my finances need to be ready for that. My number one tip is to sell stuff that you don't need as quickly as possible. January is an amazing time to go through your house, go through your closet, your garage, your basement, any dark space you have that could be storing stuff that you haven't used in months or years. Go through those things and make a couple different piles. Number one, garbage pile. These are things that nobody wants or needs and you want out of your house. Number two, a keep pile. And number three, this is the most important one in my opinion, is these are things that have some value you could actually sell and get some money back for. My wife and I did this last August. We went through all of our stuff and within a week put a bunch of stuff up for sale on the Facebook Marketplace, which I love for selling stuff. It's easy, it's convenient, and it gets stuff out of your house real fast. But within the span of about a week, we made a quick, easy $100 selling stuff that we didn't want in our house and we knew that other people could use and find some value in. This is just a side little tip. If you're selling things on Facebook Marketplace or any online site, one of my best tips is to take really good pictures and then set it at a price that you know people will view as a really good deal. Yes, you can always try to get the top dollar for it, and it might take you longer to sell that thing. So that's one option. The other option, like I mentioned already, is set a price that you know people will see as a really good deal and they'll want it immediately, and you'll get offers in and be able to get that stuff out of your house fast, and you'll get the money in your pocket. So you can start building up your emergency fund fast. My next two tips kind of flow together, and it has to do with your budget. The first thing you could do is go on a spending freeze and only buy the necessities for a short period of time. So maybe this is 1 month, 2 months, where you know that you'll just buckle down, only buy the necessities like food, household items, put gas in your car, pay your bills and your loans. Everything else that you can scrounge up is going to your emergency fund so you can get that bare minimum $1,000 as fast as possible. Again, I want to emphasize this is a temporary thing. Unless you want to do it for forever or for longer, you can always build that emergency fund up to a higher amount. But to get to that $1,000 real fast, do a temporary spending freeze on unnecessary categories. Things like ordering takeout, unnecessary shopping, buying clothes. If it's not something that you actually need in your life for the next month or two, see if you can cut it out of your budget and you can take all those extra funds that you're saving and put it into your emergency fund. And closely related to a spending freeze is just adjusting your budget. I am sure that if you went through your budget and looked at all the different things you're spending money on, there's gotta be a budget category or two or five that you can trim a few bucks off for a short amount of time. Maybe you can find ways to save money on food. I wrote a whole blog post, tips to save money at the grocery store, that can help you a ton. A big, huge one that I'm just gonna say is buy generic. Skip your name brands, buy generic. You can start meal planning, but look at your budget categories that you can trim some out of. If you're working at home, you're likely going to be saving money on gas and not driving as much. So you can take that extra money that you're not spending putting gas in your vehicle to put into your emergency fund. If you have any streaming services like Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus, this could be an awesome time to cancel a couple of those. Again, only temporary, but for a couple months, it might be worth it to cancel those services until you get your emergency fund built up. And then you can always add those back in. And you might find that you didn't really miss not having Hulu, but you really did miss Netflix and Disney Plus, and you want to add those back in, and you could just skip out on Hulu. So again, going through your budget is a good practice any time of the year, but especially when you're trying to build up your emergency fund, looking at your budget, seeing what categories you can cut back on for at least a short amount of time, 2 or 3 months, until you build that emergency fund up to a comfortable level. Again, that level is going to differ for every person. Okay, this is one of my favorite tips to save money in general, but it can really help you build your emergency fund really quickly. And that is to set up automatic transfers from your normal account where your money gets deposited into to your savings account. You can do this in a couple ways. You can do it as a direct deposit. As your paycheck gets directly deposited into your bank account, you can just siphon off a part of that and put it into your savings directly. You don't actually even see it in your paycheck. So maybe it's $25, $50 every paycheck. that is automatically just going into your savings account. Before you know it, after a couple months, that's grown a lot faster than you think it is. You look at your savings account and you're like, holy cow, we've got like $600 in there. That's amazing. And then add it into going through and selling things and cutting back some of your budget categories. You can be at $1,000 in your emergency fund so stinking fast. The other option for setting up automatic transfers, we did this for a really long time at the end of the month, or you can do it at the beginning of the month too. Set up an automatic transfer from your main account. So for us, it's our main checking account into your savings account. It can be, again, $25, $50 a month, but having that automatically go there so you don't have to manually do it. You don't have to remember because it's being done for you. So automatic transfers can be a huge way to increase your savings and grow your emergency fund. Another way that you can build and start your emergency fund is to find ways to make extra money. I already mentioned selling stuff as a way to make extra money, but maybe you've got something else that you can do. You can pick up maybe a side job. Again, temporarily, nobody wants to be working a bunch of jobs, but picking up a side job that can bring in a little extra income until you get your emergency fund fully funded. One really cool thing that is coming up here, I'm making this video in January, but it's tax return time coming up really soon. A tax return is another wonderful way that you can take a big chunk of money and put it into your emergency fund and get it fully funded really, really quickly. And you might not even have to do some of these other things I mentioned because you've just got a lump sum of money to go directly into your savings. And a tax return is an awesome built-in savings that happens every year consistently. A lot of people, ourselves included, count on this money to add to our savings and reach our financial goal. So using your tax returns or extra paycheck months, for us, April's an extra paycheck month, using a portion of that and putting into an emergency savings account is a beautiful way to spend that money. The next thing that I would recommend, maybe this is one of the first things I'd recommend, I'd maybe put this at the start of the video, but it's to set a specific goal of what you want your emergency fund to be, when you want to accomplish that by. So if you don't have any emergency savings right now, like I mentioned, $1,000 is a really good starting goal. You can set the goal of $1,000 in your emergency fund and then give it a date. Make it a SMART goal. I want $1,000 in my emergency fund by the end of March 2021. That gives you January, February, and March to add money to that. And so what you can do is you can take that $1,000 divided by 3 and you put about $333 in each month to stay on pace to reach that goal. I think that's a really awesome way to break down any savings goal, and especially funding your emergency fund as quickly as possible. Knowing exactly how much money you need to put towards that every month is a really big help. Also, it pairs in with a couple of the other things I mentioned, reviewing your budget, doing a spending freeze, because those things will allow you to reach that allotted amount that you need for that month to be able to get to your goal on the day that you set for it. Okay, and then I've got one more tip to build your emergency fund fast, and that is a printable. Who doesn't love a nice printable that you can color in or fill in every time you're adding money to your savings account? We did this when we were working to pay off our student loans. We had a big giant thermometer that we put up on our fridge, drew it out, and colored in every single month to update our progress towards being debt-free. You can do the same thing with a savings goal and establishing your emergency fund. I mean, you can just do a Google search, an emergency fund printable, and there are a bunch of things are going to pop up for you. A couple of my favorite people in the personal finance online blogging sphere, I suppose. Kelly from Freedom in a Budget. She runs an awesome site and an awesome YouTube channel where she has printables that you can buy right from her shop that are different styles of emergency fund and saving trackers that you just fill in a little box or a little symbol or shape every time you're adding a certain amount of money to your emergency fund. That can be really motivating. You can hang out on your fridge so you can see it every single day, and as a reminder to save money, to stick to these budgeting habits that you've created. Another person, Justine from Debt Free Millennials, she actually has a whole debt-free kit that you can buy for right around $100, and in it has a bunch of printables in it, and she calls her emergency fund their oh shit fund, which I love because it's like, oh shit, something just happened and I need to pull money out of there to pay for that. It's really unexpected. Thank goodness I have my emergency fund for that. Again, some printables from a couple people that I think are just doing awesome stuff to check out and follow if you aren't already, and get a printable. Another way you can keep track of this is through a spreadsheet. I actually made a sinking fund tracker that this is how we track all of our savings goals, our emergency fund included. It's a spreadsheet. It's $10. You can buy it in my Etsy shop. There's a link down below, and it allows you to save money for various different goals like your emergency fund, traveling, buying a new house, buying a car, saving to have a baby, all these different things you keep track of it in one spreadsheet, and it automatically calculates your totals and how much you have in each of those categories, but it's kept track of in one spreadsheet and one bank account. And we love it. We've been using it since 2014 now. So that'll be available down below as a sinking fund tracker. Check that out as well. Okay, those are my tips for how to build an emergency fund fast. Life is really unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen, and it's always really reassuring and refreshing knowing that you have a good chunk of money in your emergency fund when things pop up, when you get a flat tire, your car breaks down, your furnace breaks. I'm saying these things because these are all things that have happened to us, and it's really nice to have that emergency fund there when you need it, rather than having to swipe a credit card and building up debt just to cover some emergencies. That with some good planning and some intentional acts of moving money to savings, you can prevent going into further debt when emergencies pop up. That's all for today. If you're brand new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Ding that little bell so you get notified every time a new video pops up. And keep working hard to save money, budget, and get debt free. We'll have another video coming your way soon.